Hello everyone, my name's Jeff Uhrig, and I think I just made the biggest mistake of my life. I bought a 1929 Marmon. I'm going to bring you along as I try to restore it, and hopefully we'll learn some history and have some fun. Let's get started. As you can see, I've made some changes to the car. Pulled the body off of the frame so we can take a look at the frame. It's fairly simple, just a steel frame. Looking down at the wheels, this is one of the interesting features here. If you can see this lever here, that's part of the mechanical brakes. When you pull this back, it actually works the brakes. I have also played a little bit with the wheels. I thought this was just decorative on here. That's actually what holds the wheel on. So I'm going to have to get a wrench so I can tighten those up. Moving back, it's a standard steering wheel here. And our battery box, I installed that onto the frame to get the size of it, so I could order a battery for that. And then we got standard differential on the back with the springs, and again, I don't know if you can see this down here or not, the mechanical brakes, which moved back and forth. Well, here's the cab. I don't think we've done too much detail of this. Like I said, it's a wood frame with a metal shell on the outside. The front looks pretty good, nice and solid. I'm not exactly sure what the light switch is for. But when we get inside, I've done a lot of bracing with the wood to try to square it up. And you can see some of the details in here. There's really no support on the top, so the whole top of the car just wiggles around. So I've added straps and some boards, trying to brace it. I have been working on the back here, removing the rust off the metal, and I put this piece, made a new piece to go back in here to just try to support the bottom of the car. If we come around, you can see this is the window piece that was out, and I've stuck it back in here just to sort of hold things together. The biggest rust is on the back here, in the back of the car. I'm thinking the window leaked, and then it rotted out the wood in the bottom, and then it rusted out this bottom edge of the car. I think this whole back of the car still has to go up another 1/8 inch. So my plan is to make out some sheet metal patches in here. I'll probably do 3 here to attach to the bottom of this new wood. The new wood is just pine. That's just sort of a template to hold it. I'll eventually replace that with ash before I'm finished. The other item I've done is this used to be a piece of plywood in here for the floor. And needless to say, I was punching my knee right through it because it was all rotted out. And so I stuck in another piece of plywood and a piece of oak I had laying around here, basically just to fill in the hole for now so that I can crawl in the car and work on it. We're going to have to do a lot of welding and rust proofing. To give you an example, you can see the light coming through on that edge of this back piece. And that's probably the first piece I'm going to try to fabricate. Alright, I thought I'd I thought I'd show you how I get rid of the rust. And I do a multi-step process. This is really a lot of loose rust on here. And so I've got this tool with a big wire brush on it, and I'll hit the wheel well here first. It's a very dirty, dusty process. but it gets rid of most of it relatively quickly. Okay, now I go in same tool and I'm going to change to a sanding roller. Okay, now I've got a 80 grit sanding roll on it. I'm going to try that. That'll polish it up a little bit. Well, that's looking a little better, but it's also exposed a lot more rust in here. There's a bunch of pinholes down here, all on the bottom here, another one there, one there, and I knew this whole lip here was bad. So I guess we're going to have some work ahead of me. I'm not sure what these are. They almost look like rivets. Let me do some more exploring and clean the camera. Back here again, working on the Marmon. I've done some work and I just want to show you what I've been working on. So we're going to be moving around quite a bit. So hopefully it's not too shaky. The issue I had and probably still have, is where exactly is the top of the car supposed to be. And I played around with the bottom of it, trying to jack it up. And down in the fenders is where I was having problems. This might be too dark to see, but I was having trouble with this fender lining up with the edge of the outside of the car. There was almost an inch gap there. So inside, I've been working with some bracing. I actually had a jack in here to lift the roof up. I tied the front to the back with a ratchet strap to try to pull that up. And what happened is I ended up lifting the whole back of the car up an inch off of the lower part here that would be the frame. And once I got that up, then the boards up here on the top going across the window, especially in this corner, started to line up. And so then I moved my braces down so I could hold it up in position with all the straps, and then started fabricating a piece to go on the bottom here. Basically, this bottom here came down, goes underneath the car, and gets nailed to the 2x6 that's in there. Right now it's a temporary one. So I fabricated this plate, and I'll pull it out here so you can take a look at it. Hello everyone. I'm going to interrupt a regular video for a parts delivery. Let's see what we got here. Found two headlights. They're not Marmon headlights, they're Dodge headlights. So I'm hoping they'll work. We got a couple of dings here on the side. Looking pretty good here. Here's the other one. A couple more dings. They're tilt ray headlights, so hopefully I can find some lenses for them. Got the mounting brackets. The lens isn't very good on it, but then again, probably have to get it re-chromed anyways. Let's see if I got a tape measure here. Yeah, they're basically a 10-inch diameter, and I think Marmon was a 12-inch. So they're basically 2 inches smaller. But they'll work for now. If I find the original ones, we'll swap them out. Now back to our regular program. All right, now that I removed that piece, you can kind of see here what was going on. This came down here and wrapped underneath here, and then was nailed to the bottom here. However, the part that goes underneath, there really wasn't anything left. And so what I did is I fabricated this piece so that you've got the one piece that goes underneath, and then fill in for some new. And then I always like on old cars to do a lap joint. It just makes it easier to weld the two panels together because it gives some support, and you don't have trouble with hitting thin spots on the existing car that burn through, so you can easily weld onto this. So my plan is to put this back in, weld it on, screw it on, and then take the braces out and see if this will support the back of the car. Welding 101. basically got packed in there. So we can remove some of these guys and just continue to weld it. You've all seen the welding before, so I'll give you a break from this. As you can see, I've continued around the back of the car here and welded in this piece in here. I did run into one problem up in this corner here. Apparently, somebody has put some lead in there, and it made it really hard to try to get the weld to stick with the lead melting off as you work. So I guess I'll have to watch out for that, for lead in the corners. The other thing I've done is over by the door here, I've started to fabricate a replacement piece that goes in here. And basically at these locations are the nuts that used to be on here to hold the fender on. I don't know how close I can get, but basically this is what the nuts look like. It's got the bolt rusted in there and broken off, and then these were welded to the sheet metal. So I plan to use a little different system here. This is what I got to do to replace those. It's just a plate with a threaded hole, and I can just drill the sheet metal and do 2 plug welds to hold it in place, and that should work fine. So that's the end of this video. We'll continue to work on it and update you as I make progress. Thank you. Goodbye.